I would like to call the regular scheduled Fairfield County Council meeting to order Monday, June the 24th, 2024 at 6 p.m. in Winsboro, South Carolina. Before we get started, I'd like to put on the record that Dr. Roberts had a doctor's appointment this evening and could not make it to the meeting, but we appreciate you being here. Next, we are down to the Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of Next, we are down to the approval of the agenda.
So
It's been moved
Second.
and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? Let the record reflect 7-0 on approving the agenda. Next, we are down to invocation. Councilman Robinson.
let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for another Fairfield County Council meeting. We ask that you guide our thoughts and bless our decisions. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Councilman Robinson. Now we are down to approval of minutes. We got the first one, BWS number 4, 5/29/24. Let me make sure I put on the record, BWS stands for Budget Workshop. Budget Workshop number 5, June the 5th, 2024, and regular meeting June the 10th, 2024.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Let the record reflect 7-0 on approval of minutes. We are down to public presentations, none. Number 7, first public comment session.
Thank you, Chair. We have Will Montgomery.
Is the mic on? Can y'all hear me? All right. Yeah, I'm here tonight. First off, I want to appreciate y'all, everything y'all do. Thanks, council, for working with us. We can't do our job without y'all. And that's one reason I'm here tonight, to ask y'all to help us out. There's agencies surrounding us that have moved their salaries up. It's important that we do the same. I'm here to ask for a 12% raise across the board. I think that's the only way we're going to be able to keep up with everybody else to be competitive. As you can see, the men and women behind me, they're hard-working men and women. They deserve everything we can do for them. I know y'all have got other projects y'all want to do, but without law enforcement, those projects aren't going to work. So I'm asking y'all tonight to please consider a 12% increase across the board for the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office. Thank you.
Next, we have Don Goldbach.
Thank you. Don Goldbach, District 2, Lake Wateree. I would also just echo what Sheriff Montgomery just requested. The minimum starting salaries, as I understand it, around us all over the place, $50,000, and that should be the first starting point for our deputies. It's vital that we have good protection in this county, especially with things around us, with potential threats around us, with people that we don't know entering our country. So I would certainly hope that the fine folks that are here tonight would be compensated appropriately so that we keep them. It's very easy to go elsewhere and get paid more. So I certainly support Sheriff Montgomery and the whole department. First of all, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for putting the short-term rental update on the agenda. Back in November, there was a workshop, I guess, where the outline for a new ordinance on short-term rentals was presented. And one specific request, when we get to that part of the agenda, item 3 on that outline said HOA approval. If applicable, all short-term rentals will have to provide proof that the homeowner association, HOA, would allow such use. So just want confirmation that in this ordinance, if an HOA has words in their covenants specifically that prohibit short-term rentals, that would be honored by the county. One other request, that's under old business. There's some other old business I would like to see an update on. I think many of us would, and that's on the IRS fines. I understand Mr. Killian has been doing some good work to try to get some of these fines revoked, so I'd like to see an update on that, please, in the future. Moving on to the budget. First thing, the lady who collects our taxes, I just want to give a shout out to her. I mean, she sends these nice little notes when we pay our bills as a thank you for what we do. And it's the first time in my many years paying many bills to many governments that anybody has actually acknowledged the citizens and the taxpayers. So Norma Branham, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Relative to the budget, I'm certain it will pass tonight. I don't know, but if it does, I have a request and a suggestion. I think that we would really like to know what the status is of the budget, spending against the budget every month. And there is this thing, standing committee the council has called the Administration and Finance Committee. I would like to see that every month, say the fourth Monday of the month, that committee gives an update on where we are against that budget for that month. Something that would show evidence that the council is paying attention where money is being spent and would be communicating that to the citizens and taxpayers. So July 22nd, hope to see that first budget report. Thank you.
Mr. John, I do apologize, S-T-E-I, pronounce it again? Okay.
Council members, John Steigerwald, District 2, Shirley Green. I'm just here shoot from the hip in support of the ordinance for short-term rentals. I would like to see this ordinance written in such a manner that it is enforceable. We don't want to hamstring our sheriff's department when they're called out for a violation of this ordinance. It needs to be written in such a manner that they can enforce this thing. I have been in contact with Mr. Joseph Toledo and Monica Johnson, and I and my neighbors, again, are really wanting the county to push this forward. And also, as Dawn said, to have the county back if we have an HOA or covenants in our neighborhood for the county to help us in that situation. And that's it. Thank you.
Next, we have Ms. Ann Carrier. Carrier, okay.
Always with the glasses. Okay. Good evening, Ann Creo, District 2. And District 2 does extend well beyond Lake Wateree, goes across the county. As you are aware, I have used Freedom of Information Act on multiple occasions to obtain all the detailed financials to help assess the budget year to date from 2021. In writing a data analysis program using a program language that is easy for those who need ease of in-depth search engines and visually understandable data analysis, I have created a highly capable, feature-rich program language functioning at a high level, general, purpose, interpretable, and dynamic tool. The program language I chose has been in use for 36 years. In a presentation to Mr. Killian, he witnessed the ease of multiple analysis capabilities right at your fingertips. No more scrolling through yearly files trying to match up data, and even better, all paper files are now computerized in this analysis program. Believe me, this has been a long road of intense work and has been an education in and of itself in consolidating Fairfield County's revenues and appropriations. This has been a long time coming. I would request that the County Council afford me the opportunity to show them this valuable tool in action, as Mr. Killian has seen. Imagine, you may never have a late budget again. You will be able to clean up unnecessary overspending and misappropriations, as well as avoiding hefty IRS fines. I look forward to hearing from you, seeing as I have come to 95% efficiency in inputting all data. There were a few concerns in the last FOIA request that I had, and I had to put them on my phone. But they had to do with GL code 254-093, and that's the Fairfield Forward. For some reason, there were appropriations this year, no revenues. All other years, there were revenues to cover this expense, and I don't understand where that, where that went. And then there's some red flags as far as a description called refund reimbursement of expense 4611 GL code and child fatality. Those are both under revenues. I think the constituents would like a further explanation of what exactly that is and what it means. There's another GL code 241-041, which is workforce investment, and that's a Workforce Investment Act. We've spent over $3 million on this in the past few years, and we don't know what we have to show for it. So if we could maybe get a little clearer on that. And that's it. Thank you for your time, and I do also say thank you to all of you who help protect our communities. And that's not just Sheriff, it's everybody who's out there for us citizens. So thank you.
Randy Bright.
Excuse me. Randy Bright, Ridgeway, District 1. I have several concerns about the entire budget process. One, of course, is the lack of transparency. One book for 21,000 residents just doesn't cut it. And I visited many times, 7, 8 times probably. Still haven't been able to discern all the information I would like. But that's laughing stock for the rest of the state to have one book for 21,000 residents and for detailed data on the budget. And the budget itself got off on the wrong foot. Any budget for any county should begin with what's important to the people, according to assessment surveys, common sense, read the news. In other words, you start building the budget around the first responders, Sheriff's Department, EMTs, fire, and then you build the budget from there. Take care of your people first. Make us safe. Make us secure. That's everybody's priority. If you want new people to come to our county, new businesses to come to our county, you emphasize public safety. Any county that's growing does. Any county that didn't lose 11% of their population, according to the last census, they emphasize safety first. And that would be a great motto for our county. You don't make the Sheriff's Department an afterthought, a last minute. What is there, 1 week to go before the deadline, and we're still debating on how much to pay our valued sheriff employees? We're still debating on how much to invest in the safety of this county, the safety of all ages, the brand of this county. We're still waiting until the last minute to invest in the brand of this county? Come on, guys. The county deserves much better than that. I agree. It should be an across-the-board raise. We're well below surrounding counties, $50,000. And if you read, that's probably going to go up. But $50,000 is a minimum, and then you proportionally raise the rest of the staff from there. There's really no alternative. You've got to take care of the people first. If we would have started with first responders in the budget, we wouldn't be scrambling at the very end with all kinds of scenarios and debate on the matter. Police, thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, we are down to number 8, public hearings, none. Number 9, ordinance, resolutions, and orders. Third and final reading, ordinance number 834, an ordinance to establish operating budgets for the operation of the county government of Fairfield County for the fiscal year commencing July the 1st, 2024, to provide for the levy of taxes for Fairfield County for the fiscal year commencing July 1st, 2024, to establish fees and service charges for Fairfield County for the fiscal year commencing July the 1st, 2024, to provide for the expenditure of tax revenues and other county-related funds, and to provide for certain fiscal matters and other matters related to county government.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. We're going to do discussion, and we're going to let Mr. Killian take over from here.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. What was in your packet, what we sent out with your packet, was essentially the same information that was provided to you at your last meeting with a couple of changes. I will point out that the first 7 amendments that were discussed at your last meeting are the same, except we did plug in a number for the revenue increases in amendment number 1 for the allocation from fund balance. And what we did for purposes of discussion is assume the adoption of all of these amendments plus the highest different variations of salary increases that were discussed in the amendment. So whichever path you take, that number should come down. That should be the worst case unless you add something else to it. So if you adopt everything that's here with the highest salary increases that were projected, that would be about a $3.2 million allocation from fund balance. But the first 7, unless you want me to go through them individually, are the same as what you saw 2 weeks ago. Except we also moved out the probate judge's request, which was initially included in amendment number 2. We moved it out to a freestanding amendment number 8 for his deputy probate judge position, if you want to consider that separately. Amendment 9 is the proposed 2 amendments, either a 2% across the board for county employees or a 3%, whichever is council's desire there. And then we have 5 different scenarios based on the different conversations that we've had with the sheriff and amongst yourselves and at your work sessions. Scenario A is to start to pay at $45,000. Scenario B is $46,000 with various adjustments for every other employee in the organization. Scenario C is $46,000 plus a 3%. Scenario D is $47,500 with appropriate adjustments for everybody else in the sheriff's department. And then scenario E is $50,000 with an extra $3,000 for other sheriff's office employees. That was discussed. I think each of those have been discussed in various degrees. But we'll be glad to try to answer questions about any of them as you decide on which amendments you want to include. At your on the dais tonight, we brought out the full ordinance with all the narrative. What was in the packet was just the numbers, but we've also got the narrative for the full ordinance on your table tonight, along with the fee schedule for next year that has been discussed at different times through your budget work sessions for the changes that we're going to have to make for like waste management and some things in the community development office. Everything else is pretty much staying the same, I believe, except for those. But those were discussed, I think, at different work sessions that you had earlier.
Mr. Keegan, what your professional opinion, we thank you for all the work you have done. What is your recommendation for the Sheriff's Department?
Well, you know, it's very difficult to make a recommendation. We are going to be in an arms race for EMTs and first responders because every other organization in the state is. So regardless of what you do, at some point, it's not going to be enough. It'll change as we fight that battle. My challenge is to present to you a budget that is balanced, which this one is. It was when I presented it to you, even though it was not balanced in a method that I prefer, by having to use some reserves to do it. That was the best we felt like we could do with the priorities that we had been given. It's an ongoing, everywhere I've been, we fought that battle everywhere in all 5 organizations I've worked in. EMTs and Sheriff's Department, they're constantly moving as people are, and it's gotten even tougher because it's getting harder and harder to get people to go into those professions because they're very difficult professions, obviously, and they are high stress. So it's, I think we have to understand that we need to do something for the Sheriff's Department, but we also need to do something for all of our employees as well because our entire comp plan is behind.
Going on over to the detention center and the 911, can you explain that one, what we're doing?
I think it was brought up at the last meeting that we adjust those as well. If the Sheriff's Department, I got to find where those are. I think the suggestion was possibly made to bring it from 36 to 39.5 for detention and 32.5 to 35 for our 911 dispatchers. I was not here at that meeting. I apologize for that, but I believe those were brought up. Those are the numbers that you would need to appropriate if you wanted to go with those increases on top of whatever percentage across the board you give to employees.
So the new minimum for detention center would be 40,442. Is that correct?
That's the class and comp new minimum. I think the number that was discussed was 39.5. Oh, that's the current. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, so the new class and comp minimum would be 40,442.
And for the emergency management, it would be?
It'd be the 36,682, the second bullet.
I so move that we do the 50,000 for the Sheriff's Department, do everything that's like you have put in here.
May I clarify? This is a motion to amend? Is that what?
No, hold on a minute. We're still doing
Okay.
discussion right now. You know, because I think we need to go down probably one by one and get council vote, and then we can do it that way. Right, yeah. But I think if council members want to say anything before the voting, so it won't get missed, I mean, it's a good time to do it now. And I'll start off, you know, I want to start off by giving a big thank you to our interim administrator, Mr. Keegan, our deputy administrator, Ms. Williams, and our finance director, Ms. Mosey, along with the finance department, for their hard work in preparing the budget. Everyone tried their best to present a balanced budget to council that would take care of all the employees, departments, outside agencies, and all the different needs of the county. We had 5 budget workshops, numerous phone calls and emails, and getting finance to run different scenarios to see what we could afford to do. I think every council member spent a lot of time and research on this budget, and I want to thank each one of you for doing that. We appreciate all of our employees for their hard work and dedication to Fairfield County. We did our best to make sure that we were fair to every one of these employees.
Yes, I want to make a motion that we give all county employees 3.
Do you want to, hold on just a second. Do y'all want to start with the first page and just say 1 through 7? Is there a motion to approve 1 through 7 so we don't get sidetracked and go back and forth?
I make a motion to approve item 1 through 7.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. And keep in mind, Mr. Killian did state that number 2, depending on what we do, could increase or decrease.
As long as council understands, that number will be adjusted to whatever amendments you make.
Any other discussion on 1 through 7?
And Mr. Chair, if I may, I just want to make sure that this is considered a motion to amend the budget to incorporate items 1 through 7 on the proposed amendment list. I just want to make sure that's absolutely clear for the record.
Yeah.
Okay. And I assume that would be the case. I'm just trying to make sure we have a clear record.
It's been moved and properly seconded to amend the budget on the motion list for 1 through 7. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Let the record reflect 7-0 on 1 through 7. Now we are down to item 8.
I make a motion to approve.
It's been moved and properly seconded to approved number 8. Is there any discussion?
As I mentioned last time, this is for the probate judge, and majority of the time, the prior probate judge was in office. She had assistants there that were capable of carrying out those duties, which they do not have currently. So, and it's not a lot of money, but I think it's a need.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? Nay. I think that's 2 to 5. Item 8 fails. Next, we are down to item 9. Ms. Swearingen made the first motion. Ms. Swearingen, if you want to proceed with your motion again.
I do. I make a motion we increase the sheriff's pay to the 50,000, just like he's figured into the budget.
9 is the cost of living.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Tim already made that.
We're going to do number 10, and then we'll come back to number 9. Ms. Swearingen made a motion to increase the sheriff's office pay to, you said 50,000?
Just like right here. E.
And that's item 10. Give me just a second. That's item 10E.
They're missing pages.
I think they said they're missing some pages.
Okay.
was in your package about it, that Clay sent to you. About that.
About somebody need to be up there?
Yeah. Did y'all not read it?
I did, but I mean, it wouldn't have passed no way, so. I mean,
It's
I
pretty
would,
tacky what you voted against.
that wouldn't be my 3 votes.
I don't care, it's still tacky.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor by Ms. Swearingen to approve 10E. All right, there's not a second on that motion. That motion fails. Is there,
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion for scenario B, which increases sheriff's officer deputy pay to $46,000 with a 4% across the department internal equity.
Mr. Roos made a motion for 10B. Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded to do 10B. Is there any discussion?
Just for clarification, we're still going to go back and vote on 9 on the cost of living
Yes.
after, okay.
But they're not gonna get that cost of living. You could at least go for 47.5.
Turn your microphone on.
They're not gonna get the cost of living with that. You could at least go for 47.5.
But there's a 4%.
But it's not going to them. Is this true?
I'm trying to see if we cannot come to some sort of compromise. That's where I'm headed with this. I'm trying to, I wish we could do more. This is what I'm looking at and
Ms. Swearingen,
So
if you
that's
turn
Yeah.
your, Mr. Kenyon, if you would explain to council the 10B scenario 46, and that's an average of 4% increase for the sheriff's department with a 4% increase across the department for internal equity.
Yes, sir. This scenario does start the base pay at 46, and that works out to about a 4% increase on average for the deputies that are under that. And then since that's about 4%, the proposal is to add 4% to those that don't get to at least to that minimum, to get them above that or move them up. To Mr. Roos' point, if you wanted to do that and add 3 on top of it, that's certainly something council could propose or amend into the budget. We haven't run those numbers, but if you wanted to do that, we could certainly do that if that's what you wanted to do. Yeah, scenario C, as Ms. Williams pointed out, scenario C is 46, there it is, 46 with the 3% on top of it. So it adds another, about another $18,000 on top of scenarios B to go 46 plus 3%.
But to go 46 is giving every employee within the sheriff's department a 4% increase, correct?
Yes, sir.
Well, the difference between the total of C and D is like, what, $11,000?
Mr. Roof, what is your motion that you're trying to, are you trying to do the 46 and then along with the COLA, or just the 46?
I'll make 46 along with the COLA.
Okay. All right. Mr. Chair, I hate to interrupt, but it sounds like that Mr. Roof wishes to go forward with the scenario C, which would be the 46, and then also includes the 3% COLA. Inasmuch as he's made a motion to have scenario B, he would need to rescind his motion with the approval of Mr. Robinson, at which point in time, assuming that is approved, he could then make the motion to amend to include or incorporate the scenario C of item 10.
Okay, I will,
You got to rescind it, Mr. Robinson, okay, we rescinding it? Okay.
I will rescind my original motion for 46B. Was that it? I mean, 2B, yeah. Scenario B. I'll rescind that motion. All right, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a new motion for item 10 for scenario C to increase to 46 and include COLA.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded for 10C. That's increasing the sheriff's office deputy pay to $46,000 with a 3% COLA and a 4% increase across the department for internal equity. Any other discussion?
Again, I tell you, between that and starting at 47.5, it's only $11,000. 11,000, y'all. $11,000.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Ranger. Any other discussion? All those in favor of 46C? All the, Mr. Robinson?
No, I'm just gonna show hands if I see it on the three.
Ms.
I was gonna ask to show hands, but it's on the.
Show hands. You got 3 in favor. How many oppose? 4 oppose, so 46C fails. I'm sorry, 10C fails. Any other motions?
I'll make a motion, we do scenario D, 47.5 to start, with a 7% increase across the department. That's the same thing as up there, except for starting at 47.5 instead of 46. The very same thing, and $11,000. Very same thing.
Is there a second on Ms. Swearingen's motion? That motion fails as well. Is there any other motions concerning the sheriff's departments?
Is there, since we're this close, is there any way we could discuss this some more? And what was the last vote on my motion, 3 to 4?
Yeah, 3 to 4.
So if we're that close and we won't get a second on your motion, Ms. Swearingen, if you reconsidered voting, it could pass?
Well, that sounds like it's not gonna pass unless I do that.
Well, that's why I'm trying
Sounds
to
like
make.
it's not gonna pass. We just gonna leave them down there where they are? That ain't gonna work. This is ridiculous.
Well, this is what I'm getting at. That's very close to what you're talking about, and otherwise, are we not gonna get any of it this way?
Make your motion. Do what you need to do.
I'm trying to make this work, and
Okay, I'm gonna work
something
with
is
you.
better than nothing, and I'm trying to
Absolutely.
get as
At
much
this
as we
point in
can
time,
get.
because you're getting
So,
nothing, it looks
I
like.
will, can I make that my motion again for scenario C? I make motion for scenario C.
It's been moved and properly seconded to approve 10C. Increase the sheriff's office deputy pay to 46 with a 3% COLA and a 4% increase across the department for internal equity. Any discussion?
So they're gonna get 7%.
Yes.
And those people that are below the 46,000, they're gonna be up there where they need to be.
This will start, it'll move the minimum starting salary to 46,000,
Right.
plus the 3% on top of that. And then the rest of the department that doesn't fall will get the 4.
So those people that are making 43 now, they're gonna be up above
They're
there.
going to 46 plus the 3%.
Y'all happy with that? No, I'm not happy with that. That's all you're gonna get.
Any more discussion? Seeing no other discussion, all those in favor? All those opposed? Let the record reflect 6-1. Now we are down to I got it. Hold on just a minute. We're down to number 9. Which is a cost of living increase for all employees.
So move, Mr. Chair. 3%.
Yeah, which one are you?
3%.
It's been moved and properly seconded to do a COLA 3% across the board. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Let the record reflect 3% across the board for COLA. Mr. Key, in the back page for the detention center emergency management, are those something that need to be voted on? Is that included for the 3%?
Well, the 3% would go across the board to them too, unless you wanted to do one of these scenarios instead. The average increase for the detention center under this scenario is 4%, and for 911 is 5%. So it'd be a little bit more than just a straight 3%.
Does that mean that they're gonna be starting at 40,000 at the,
If you.
Detention center.
If you amend the budget with these particulars, the new minimum for detention center officers would be 40,442, and for 911, it'd be 36,682.
I make a motion that we amend it so that these minimums go up too.
Well, you need to state, because you got the detention center, you got 911, which ones are you?
Well, he just said, detention center, minimum 40,442, and emergency 36,682 is the minimum that they would be starting at.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's okay to include them both in the same motion if you wanted to do that.
And you're including that with the 3% as well?
Yeah. They deserve it.
Ms. Swearinger made a motion. Is there a second? There's no second on that motion.
Are you
Are there any other motions? None on those. Mr. Morgan?
Yes, sir. If there are no further motions, then I think it'd be appropriate for council at this time, they could make a motion to approve the budget for third reading as amended based upon the votes it has already taken.
So moved.
It's been moved and properly seconded to approve the budget with those motions that was made to amend the budget. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed?
Nay.
Let the record reflect 6-1 on approving the budget. Next, we are down to item B, 9B, second reading ordinance number 835, an ordinance to consider the request to amend the Fairfield County Land Management Ordinance number 599 and the related zoning map to provide for the zoning reclassification from RD1 Rural Residential District to B2 General Business District. Tax map number 185-0002014-000, located at 438, 440, 444 Mount Hope Road, Ridgeway, South Carolina, owned by David R. Brown.
So moved.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chair, I'll just say that in talking with administration prior to the first reading, that if I think I recall correctly, all the surrounding land was is zoned this currently, and that was why they recommended the change.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed?
Nay.
Let the record reflect 6-1 on 9B. Now we are down to 9C, Resolution 2024-04, a resolution by Fairfield County Council authorizing the execution of an addendum for participation in the state insurance benefits program regarding county council member coverage from the South Carolina Public Benefit Authority and other matters related thereto.
So moved.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion?
I questioned this because I consider us part-time, but now some of the council members here say that we are like elected officials with this insurance. And so am I understanding correctly that the insurance is not a benefit, but it's something that you pay for out of your pocket?
Yeah, this is just a retirement system. The folks at PEBA have changed some things the way they do business, and they're asking for a one-time declaration from councils all across the state that you want to participate or opt out. You're currently in the retirement system, as most councils that I know of are. So this is just to tell them you want to continue as members of the system.
Seeing no other discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Let the record reflect 7-0. Number 10, Board and Commission minutes. For information only, none. 11, Board and Commission appointments, none. 12, old business, short-term rental update, Ms. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just wanted to give you all an update now that we have Mr. Joseph Toledo here as the new Planning and Zoning Director. We brought together the internal team a few weeks ago to go over the previous short-term rental recommendations that were presented to the previous committee. We invited the Sheriff's Office, the Fire Department, as well as Community Development and Code Enforcement to kind of go over and get a refresher and go over all of those requirements. We're making a couple of updates based off of that discussion, but the next step will be to then send it to Mr. Morgan for legal review so he can actually put that in ordinance format. Right now, it's not currently in ordinance format. And once we get it through the legal review and have ordinance format, we will be bringing an ordinance for you all to review and consider.
I just want to make a comment, if I may,
Ms. Green?
that as was mentioned by one of our speakers tonight, is that we make sure that we talk about the HOA covenants in that ordinance, please.
Yes, ma'am, that is still in there. That's actually something that's provided by state law currently, that if we are aware of something that a homeowners association covenant does not allow, then we cannot give the permit for it. So that's not just short-term rentals, but with other situations as well. So that would be the case with this.
All right. New business, none. 14A, County Administrator's Report.
Mr. Chairman, I have a very brief report. I just want to take a few minutes to introduce our new Deputy Finance Director, Ms. Brittany Adams, who is sitting behind me. She started a week ago today. So she's come in right here as we were thrashing to finish up the budget. I'm glad she's come back for the second week. So it's been kind of a crazy week. She is a Columbia native, and she's coming to us from Richland County government as a senior grants accountant. She has a master's in business administration and a bachelor's in accounting from Columbia College. She has 8 years of state and local government service, as well as some years of experience in nonprofit, federally funded healthcare, and in private sector utilities. And she's currently an applicant for the upcoming year for the Government Finance Officers Association of South Carolina. So we're happy to have her on board, and I know Beverly's happy to have some assistants on board too. So welcome, Ms. Brittany Adams.
Thank you. Next, we are down to Clerk to Council's report. None. County Council time. Mr. Roof.
Just a couple things. Kind of glad to get the budget kind of resolved, and it was, I really wish you could do more for the Sheriff's Department. Tried to, something's better than nothing, and try to get as much as we can to make something work. And but thank y'all, and thank all our employees. And do we have any? I know this budget's been taking everybody's time, and thank y'all for all the work y'all have put in, because I know it's been a lot. But the Animal and Ordinance Committee meeting, will that be maybe next month or so?
Yes, sir, Mr. Roof, if I may, we have been making some of the changes. We've been talking to our counterparts over in Richland County and also incorporating some other changes. We're asking that we actually allow this to come before the committee in August, so it could come to the August meeting for the second meeting of County Council. I'll be up front. It's because I will not be here the second meeting in July, and I don't want to bring such an important ordinance and have one of my associates kind of fill this seat and not be fully aware of everything that's been going on throughout the changes over the few years. I think it'd be best if there's some continuity of knowing what has happened previously with changes. So that's the timeline that I have spoken with Mr. Killian, and hopefully that's okay. We wanted to make sure the right folks are in the right place when it's going forward.
Okay, thank you. And that's actually going to work out better, because I'm actually going to be gone in the middle of July too, so I'm going to miss that anyway. So that'll work out better. Thank you.
I think that we need to basically talk a little bit about the future of Fairfield County, and the fact that with a decrease in population and an increase in all of the services, the costs of all of the services we provide, it is going to be very, very difficult to keep up with Richland County and the other surrounding counties. I think that in taking a look at some of the information that the Sheriff's Department provided to us in terms of maybe taking a look at a cadet program that maybe starts a little bit lower than the minimum, but also to take a look at trying to make sure that when we have that starting salary, that we're trying to get police officers that will be ready for the force in taking a look at some of the information shared. I think we're talking about, the Sheriff's Department was talking about sending some of those new employees to academy. I think then we have a lag time of maybe, 6 months to 2 years before someone would be ready, if I'm correct. So I think that we really need to kind of take a look at how we manage that so that we can make sure that we're getting as many people ready to get in a cruiser than we possibly can. But I thank you so much for your service, and we appreciate all of you, and appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Green. Any other council members? Ms. Swearingen.
The budget update that I believe Mr. Goldbach suggested, can we maybe do something like that every time?
Yes, ma'am, we
And-
can. The July meeting we may be a month behind that just because of closeout for the months. So we could do it at least quarterly, but we'll try to do it as often as monthly if we can. We'll put something together, hopefully that's simple to understand and for you to, for everybody to be able to understand where we are.
And an update on IRS fines?
I have not heard back from our auditors. I know they're working on it and have gotten a good deal of information from the finance department. So they're sifting through that, but whether or not they've actually got the appeal filed yet, I'm not sure, but they are working it.
And we probably don't have anything to do with this, but the election's over with, and I'm getting calls about the election signs. And we saw on the way over here, they were tooling along and just mowing them down with the mower, and then you're gonna have a bunch of trash. So I guess we don't have anything to do with that.
Yeah,
but-
I don't know if we have that in our sign ordinances. A lot of sign ordinances do say that by 30 days after the date of election, they have to come down. Is it in our sign ordinance? I thought it probably was, but I hadn't looked at it. So
It's a mess.
we'll start trying to reach out to candidates that haven't picked them up and say, get busy or we will.
Okay, and I got a phone call today, and I'm asking, they told me that Mr. Morgan is working, are you working for the town of Ridgeway and us? And they were wanting to know if it's a conflict of interest.
Yes, ma'am. I have one project I'm assisting the town when it relates to a FOIA request, but I do not represent the town as the town attorney. It's just coming in trying to provide one-time legal advice as to one specific scenario. But it is not a conflict because, again, it's a Freedom of Information Act request regarding town documents and a town issue. So it's just kind of coming alongside. I will tell council I represent in other counties across the state. I'm the Assistant Kershaw County Attorney, the Assistant Georgetown County Attorney. I've done work for Hartsville, Clinton, Port Royal, Lancaster, all across the state. So I understand these questions, they do arise, but it's not a conflict.
Okay, I'm just asking. That's it? Oh,
Usually, well, not usually, I don't read the local tabloids, but I was made aware of an article by a citizen and felt the need to address it. At the last council meeting, I informed the author of the article that council members cannot individually meet with department heads, as that is the administrator's responsibility. The author said after the meeting he did some research and concluded that council can meet with department heads as a whole. Council members, please correct me if I'm wrong, but that is exactly the purpose and intent of the public budget workshops, for council to meet with department heads to inquire about the needs for each department. At that time, council as a whole would have all the time needed to ask about department needs and funding. In addition, council members discuss specific needs and present questions to the administrator about the budget. Unfortunately, the article seems to prevent inaccurate information to the public, which seems to put council under attack and in a bad light. Ultimately, the voters of Fairfield County will have to make sure they do their research prior to going to vote in the upcoming elections. Do I have any other motions?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded to adjourn. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of adjournment? All those opposed? Let the